Hello everyone, this is Nimish. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're gonna review one of the biggest hits of the year in the Malayalam film industry, Angamaly Diaries. This is also one of the most appreciated regional movies in India this year, has been appreciated all over India, and it has been getting great reviews, and I got a chance to finally watch it. Before we get into this discussion, there are two disclaimers here I would like to give you all. Firstly, this is not going to be a perfect review like I always do, in the sense that it won't have a rating, it won't be a review and kind of judgment about the movie, because I don't think I'm capable to do that. Just like Mahesh Pratikaram, I don't think I'm at a stage where I can do a review of such a movie perfectly and critically to, the way I normally do. So that's that. So it might not have the rating that you usually see, but we will discuss ratings and we will discuss everything related to this movie. The second disclaimer is that this is going to be one of those reviews where most people who've watched Angamaly Diaries will completely disagree with what I say. And coincidentally, I realized that I'm actually wearing the same t-shirt which I wore for NPCB, wore for Kali, where there were quite a few people who disagreed with what I was trying to say. So I probably need to throw this t-shirt out. Anyway, let's begin. Okay, let's begin with the good parts of Angamaly Diaries. The very striking elements that when you watch the movie that first kind of springs out at you are two to three things. Firstly, the music. I mean, the music of this movie, including the background music, is incredible. It is something I often don't speak about for many movies, and many of you guys tell me, you have to mention the BGM and stuff. But I only mention it if it really springs out and makes an impact. And of course, if it's so good that I actually remember it and it's the first thing I'm saying, like I'm saying today. The music impacted this movie to an extremely great level. It took it to a completely amazing level altogether. I mean, right from the opening of the movie, there's this amazing song of Angamaly, I think, and it's just so peppy and upbeat, and it shows shots of the city and the town, and it just gets you in the mood of expecting something realistic, different, raw. It's amazing. And then throughout, whenever something happens, there's a powerful background music that completely adds a punch. Like when everything happens, it used to go. Every time it used to kind of just like the music used to come out of the screen, and really affect the viewer who's watching it and give it a completely fun element and a kind of powerful, energetic element. And so the music is the first thing that was absolutely amazing about Angamaly Diaries and was completely synced with the movie. In fact, one of the songs, if you noticed, the editing in that song was according to the beats of that song. The editing of the song, it was when they get into the folk business. That song, I don't know the name. It was about cash or something like that, if I'm remembering correctly. So that song, the scene editing was literally as per the beat. So for those people who didn't notice, it would seem like the scenes were going very fast, or very very quick cut scenes, but actually it was going exactly as per the beats. So that was literally very amazing, which brings me to the second point, that the editing of this movie was incredible. There were times where there were many amounts of multiple shots together in a very short span of time or in one scene, whereas on the other times, like the ending scene, there was no editing required at all, because it was one completely tracking shot that was just a one take, one shot scene, which was a 10-minute scene or so. And there was this long edit pre-planned as to how to be done, and to kind of edit that long track shot and also to edit very very short cuts in one movie is completely amazing. It's a mix of a lot of editing techniques that have taken place in Angamaly Diaries, and as I said, it could be a huge pain to actually cut shots exactly as per the beats. Like literally that would take days to do. So stuff like that is really appreciated, and they've done an absolutely fantastic job on the edit. Which brings me to the third point, that the shooting of the movie is incredible, which means the cameraman, the cinematographer have done an incredible job of capturing everything. I think the director of photography should be more appreciated than the cinematographer in this particular movie, because he's captured things so beautifully. He's captured food throughout the movie, which is unbelievably done well. It's done so well that your mouth starts watering. You really feel like that food is being cooked in front of you. It makes you hungry. It's really good. He's captured animals while coming, talking about the pork business and stuff like that. He's captured the action scenes very well, and of course the last tracking shot that the movie is most famous for. So everything has been done really, really well. So the camera, the editing, and the music together have completely taken the film to a whole new level. Next up, what is really appreciative about this film is the director who worked with, I think, all newcomers. The numbers, I'm not exactly sure. Some people say 86, some people say 46, whatever it is. It's amazing that a director who's pretty famous and established suddenly gets a bunch of newcomers and is able to execute exactly what he planned to execute, which is a raw and gritty realistic film. And he just completely captured that, made them act perfectly, made them forget that there's anything of consciousness to be involved, just be natural, telling them to be as natural as possible, as real, and kind of narrating to them the characters and telling them what they are, how they should be. To newcomers, it's extremely difficult, and not only did the actors do a good job, which is the next we'll be speaking about the acting, but it's really a tough job for a director to work with someone who has no idea about this filmmaking business or has never done so much before, and to get those performances and shots out of them, also while doing all the good technical aspects of camera work, inventive creative camera work and photography techniques. So it's crazy, the responsibility is crazy, and he has done a perfect job. So the direction and the storytelling is fantastic. The acting, again, on the other hand, these are newcomers and all of them were supremely natural, each and every one of them. My personal favorites were the two villains, the two brothers who played the two villains. They were really fantastic. They never seemed like newcomers at all, and they seem like they can possibly have, if given a chance, a huge career in front of them in a variety of different roles, especially villainous roles or bad guy roles. They are amazing. They have done outstanding job. After them, the main actor, Anthony Verghese, who played Vincent Pepe. I was getting confused with the character names and the real name for a second there. So Anthony Verghese, he's, first of all, he's extraordinarily handsome, okay, and for him to do such a role is incredible. He's completely kind of being the local guy and stuff like that. He's done an extremely natural job, and I'm very sure he's going to get a lot of projects in the future. He's going to become a huge superstar. He's basically in the category of Tovino Thomas. He has the ability to kind of blend into any sort of role. He has the good looks, he has the star power requirement, and most importantly, just like Tovino, he can do absolutely anything, and that's the image he has. He's not as polished and as sophisticated as Dulquer Salman that limits his inherent abilities to do anything. Neither is he as kind of local, so to say, as Nivin Pauly, to kind of be restricted to do other kinds of roles. He has the blend that Tovino Thomas has to do both sophisticated roles and kind of crazy local roles, to do anything and everything. So I think that he's a great find, and he's going to be a huge asset to the industry going forward. So he was incredible as well. Everyone else in the cast, as I said, did a very natural job. You couldn't even make out that they were acting. It literally felt that there was just a camera and everyone was really being captured, as to what was happening. So that was great. The story, months ago I read in one review of Angamaly Diaries that, oh, this movie doesn't have a story, but it's enjoyable. That's completely wrong. That is like a non-Malayali opinion of Angamaly Diaries, because this movie very much has a lot of story to it. It has all the possible angles that any story could have. It has hero, villain, subplots, characters, love story. It has everything. So I don't know what some reviews were saying, that it just feels like there's no story. That's wrong. I completely disagree. I think that this movie has a lot of story. In fact, when the story about the pork business started, I was actually getting extremely interested in the movie, and I wanted the movie to go and keep, kind of go into the zone of pork business and stuff like that, to explore that zone more and more instead of just being about the characters. So I was really liking that plot, that element, and the way they were doing it. So there is definitely a story to it and everything. But here's what I think that I missed, and here's what I think that I really, what is the difference between watching this in Malayalam and with subtitles? Firstly, the humor. I have heard that this movie uses slang, it uses accents, which completely adds to the feel of the movie. which no one who watches it with subtitles will ever get. So there was zero, or I should say, negative kind of humor in this movie for me, because I didn't even smile in this movie. For me, this movie was a subtitled movie, which I was just watching with the story progressing, the amazing technicals that was going on there. But there was zero element of humor for me. And if it is true that there is the slang and accent and humor involved in this movie that makes it more enjoyable, then that's clearly the one and only reason I personally didn't enjoy it as much as any Keralite would have enjoyed it, who obviously knows what's going on in the jokes and the humor of the movie. Now, somewhere and from some people, I've also heard that there is not much of humor to it. It's just the way it's made that makes it enjoyable. That part I don't again agree with at all, because I think that if this movie doesn't have humor, now as I said, it has humor, I know it, and I didn't get it. But if in case it doesn't have humor, then I really don't think this is a good movie. That's because of variety of reasons. First of all, it's just like a lot of other Malayalam movies. I don't know if you guys agree or not. As I said, the technicals are outstanding. The technicals are unique, different, significant achievement by the director and the actors in that area. But as a story, as an entertainment value of watching a movie, it's pretty much like any other Malayalam movie, wherein it's a story about a bunch of people, what goes on in day-to-day life, reality, stuff like that. So there's nothing that makes this movie extraordinary in that front. Secondly, one thing that I didn't like, regardless of the humor or lack of humor in this movie, is that the main actor, Anthony Verghese, if you guys noticed, whenever he was fighting, getting violent, getting angry, which is basically 50% of the movie, there were not many shots of his face. There were not many shots of his expressions of anger, violent streak on his face, real kind of avenging, revenging, vengeance on his face was never shown. If you kind of recollect the movie, most of that was bounced off of the villains. The two villains, especially the one villain who was really kind of violent and agitated after time, the guy who throws the bomb, most of the anger and the violent streak in the movie was coming from him, and of course his brother who was supporting it. And the people who were supporting Anthony Verghese, the main guy, the tall guy with the mustache, I don't know his name, the tall guy with the mustache who also has a wife or a girlfriend like that, that guy. So, these were the people who were really portraying the violent streak, the kind of inherent nature to get into fights, the kind of gundaism or whatever that was portrayed. They were doing it a lot, and the focus and the camera, I noticed in many scenes, were from behind Anthony's shoulder onto the villains, or on the other guys. So there was not much of capturing of his anger, which makes me believe that he is so good looking and he's so kind of innocent and kind of nice boy looking that he probably couldn't emote it, or the director just thought it's not matching the whole sequence because his face is pretty, so you just don't take it. And for me, that was a failure of this movie, because he's the main character and we want to follow him. And I never, even when there were scenes of him, I never really saw any anger or violent streak and gundaism on his face at all. That didn't come out very clearly for me. And so I think that although Anthony Verghese is damn good and he will be a huge star, I think that if it had to be such a local movie, they could have taken someone with more character of kind of violence in him, someone who looks more local, someone who looks more kind of gunda, it would make a lot more impact on the movie. That's what I feel about that one character. What I would have liked personally, just me, not even my friends, what I personally was enjoying was the angle of the pork business, which is something I would never imagine a movie to be made on. And I was hoping that things go in that matter. There are also a couple of scenes that felt very disjointed. For example, they already had a kind of broken relationship with the villains, right? They already had fights with the villains. So then when they had to, when they got the news that they wanted to buy pork, they had to buy the pork from the villains. They didn't show the kind of agreement they had. They didn't show how they spoke and agreed. They directly jumped forward, and we came to know later on that the villains are okay with the heroes because they are getting a lot of business from them. But the initial fact when they ask one of the pork vendors there, how is the pork business, and who do I buy pork from, and they come to know that it's the villains, and they get fully upset. Then they didn't even show what happens or what agreement was going on between these two, how they spoke and came to the conclusion that okay, we'll sell pork to you, and are we sorry for what we did, or nothing like that happened. Nothing at all happened. They didn't even go like two gundas and said, forget the fights are a different thing, business is a different thing. There was no dialogue, nothing was shown. So a lot of those kind of disjointed things happened, I feel, and it kind of missed out on some continuity in some parts. Another thing that I personally don't like, again, this is not again for my friends and everything, it's just for me. I kind of lose my attention if the action scenes are very long, which is because I'm in the minority, because most people love action, and the action scenes were shot very well, nothing wrong with them. But personally, I completely lose and space out, and I'm just sitting staring at nothing on the screen when the action is going on. If it goes on for more than like 1 minute, I'm completely like just waiting for it to get over, and I'm just like spaced out. And then after 3 minutes I realized that, oh, the action scene is still going on. Okay. So so that's one thing again that they happened. There were prolonged action sequences in the movie. So overall, a lot of these things, small things in the movie, which not only normal majority people might like, is what I personally didn't like. And also the language barriers, which affects me again as it would affect a lot of other people. Anyway, cutting short, this was just going off into various discussions on the topic of Angamaly Diaries, but generally, this is what I feel about the movie, and so I'm not going to rate it because I think I missed out a lot. Let me know what you guys think about Angamaly Diaries, about outsiders watching Angamaly Diaries, about the humor in Angamaly Diaries, about the acting, about Anthony Verghese, about the villain. Leave your comments below, and hope you liked this honest review. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and take care.